Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to this channel, High School Top 200, and these are all my segments. Welcome to everybody that's that's watched it all the way from the props. Welcome everybody that this is their first time, and if it is your first time, go back and have a look at the other ones that I did, just to check out all the other players that I featured on here. I try to talk about as much players as I can, especially because it's the top 5 and I'm doing position for position. I want to make sure that everyone that I liked and looked into gets mentioned, because I just want to make sure that everyone deserves at least some kind of recognition for the hard work that they've put into getting ready for this year, playing what they did of this year, and then also, because of the circumstances, just the way they finished, that they just get their sort of just due kind of thing. So go back and have a look at it, tag some people, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that other kind of stuff that I fail to promote all the time, just because I don't know, I feel weird doing that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm watching like my daughter's stupid gaming channels and having adults screaming at each other trying to entertain little kids. I feel strange, but obviously we're here for first team rugby, so we're here with the first fives. We're here for the number 10 position. I think is obviously another one worldwide that everyone relies on. It's a position that everyone I guess deems as the quarterback, and probably the most important position, kind of. Like I feel like you can have an average first 5 if you want to win games, as long as the setup and the game plan is right. Then yeah, you don't really need it. It's not a definite need to have a first 5 that is a superstar, but it does definitely help. But with the first 5s, it was such a long list, because this year we just had so many good first 5s come back this year. We just had so many guys that were in that position, and it just kind of just turns out that way, just like how I was talking about with the halfbacks, like next year's halfbacks. Just because there wasn't so many stacked up this year, but next year is going to be huge, so this year was just huge. There was just so many guys, and a lot of guys to watch, and a lot of good teams, and I guess that's why there was a lot of good teams out there. But I think and feel like this first 5 lot was maybe one of the best that I've seen in years that I've been doing this, because there were just so many quality players. Even when I was trying to do the top 5 first 5s, there was just I couldn't really decide. It took ages for me to decide who deserved to be there, because a lot of guys deserved to be there, and it just became really it just kind of a bit of conversations to myself about who I think would be better, or who and I kind of got a bit too technical about it. And so hopefully this hangs around, hopefully this list does it for me, so and explains exactly what I want, or what I've seen this year. Obviously my number 1 is going to be AJ Faleafunga, but AJ Faleafunga and Taha Kimura are pretty much are right there. You can have arguments for both of them. And this brings up a pretty good discussion in terms of New Zealand secondary schools, because you have 2 first 5s that both deserve to be there. They both play there, and both are excellent at what they do there. I've said it before, where AJ to me is a better game manager, and then on the other side you got Taho, who is a lot more confronting to the line. He's a lot more aggressive, taking the ball into play, where AJ can just beat you around the field with kicks and varieties of different ways that he does it. And I've also said about AJ is that People will think that he's more of just a game manager because they don't see him run much. But it doesn't mean that he can't run, because he's actually one of the best attacking players just off the spot. So fast and quick and footwork, and he's so strong as well. And he is really, really fast. I remember watching him in under 15s, sevens, where he was the cover, he was the sweeper, and he was catching guys that made breaks, and he would just chase them down. Like, he was so fast. And if you remember, he won his first national title as a year 11, well, a young year 11, which was pretty much a year 10, and then he was still playing under 15s at the same time. But he won a national title as a year 11, a young year 11. So, like, when you kind of look at those two guys and you sort of think about what you want, I think the discussion becomes different in terms of, well, what kind of game plan do you want to play? Now, I didn't really bring that into this conversation when deciding it, because I just thought, well, I kind of think they can both do it. I'm so confident in both of them, what they can do. AJ just made it New Zealand secondary schools last year. Highly ranked again from last year to this year. And I really couldn't separate. That's why they were just 1 and 2. But I can't just have two number ones. But AJ was the one that was just there last year. You know, he's already proven himself last year as the first 5 in the New Zealand secondary school team and selected there. So he hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't, he hasn't lost a step. He hasn't got any worse. The both have just gotten better. And so AJ was my number 1. In terms of arguments, it's like, I don't know, pick one. It's up to you. But then the other discussion comes down to it too, is that we've got the New Zealand secondary schools and Barbarians team coming up, hopefully. And I've got another segment coming after this with who my New Zealand secondary schools team is, as well as what I think they should do with that series, right? So Australia's not coming, but when they select this New Zealand secondary school team, one thing you fellas have got to think about, right, is like who starts and who's on the bench. Or is this going to be just like a Richie Mo'unga, Barrett situation where one goes fullback and one goes first 5? Now, if that's the case, and that's what they want to, and then that's what they're going to do, and that's what I think that they should do. If that was me, I'm putting AJ at fullback, and I'm putting Taha at first 5. Only because I know, and I have seen that AJ can play for fullback. I haven't really seen Taha play fullback before, but I know that AJ can play fullback. Now, and the reason why I say it like this is like, you can't have a talented player like that sitting on the bench. To me, that's just a waste of talent. It really is a waste of talent when you just got one there. It's just like, no, they're good enough to adapt to whatever position they put you in. So for me, I'm going to put Taha at first 5, and then I would put AJ at fullback. Yes, that does take out another fullback who's been playing fullback, but at the same time, I feel like whoever you put there, I think is going to be better than whoever the fullback is. So to me, AJ would be fullback, Taha will be first 5. And I think with that situation, to me, it gives a chance for Taha to be a threat at all times, and then for AJ to line up behind him, that if the ball needs to go down the field, they can just pass it back and it goes down the field. With obviously the better kicker out of both of them, to me, is AJ. And so AJ can still have that role of kicking them down the field, as well as the threat that if Taha gets it, you still have to have that fast attack. So it keeps defenses deciding whether, well, who do we mark if both of them come up into the line on attack. So that's the way that I would play it, and kind of have it playmakers on both sides when it comes to set pieces and stuff like that. I would not have, AJ at the back and set pieces or anything like that. I'll bring both of them up to the line and play both sides of the field, and then use that playmaking ability from both of them, so that defenses are sort of caught off guard to how they play their defenses. I would stress that side of it and make a game plan around those two. Now, this is the other one that is kind of annoying too, is that I love Dawson Smith as a player too. Like, that kid is so good, so smart, so accurate as well. And for me, when it comes to Dawson, is that I think that he is actually a second five. Which brings us up again. I can't have, it's not I can't have, but I don't want Dawson on the bench. I feel like he needs to be in the game too. So I would play him at second five. Because he's a lot bigger and he's a lot stronger. He can also have that playmaking ability too. To me, especially in the game of rugby and the way that it's played now, and the way that you get all these pods set up, the more playmakers to me that you have, and guys that can control the ball and, you know, be able to deliver a pass, take a pass, all that kind of stuff, to me, it's the better it is. And so if I had three main guys, let someone like Sam Howling, who would be the halfback, to be able to pick, oh, okay, I've got three options. I've got three options of guys if I really need it, that can do kind of everything. Dawson Smith would just take that second five role. So when I was thinking about it this way, I was just like, well, if he is going to be the third one, there is a little bit of separation between AJ and Taha and then Dawson. But it's not like this big, huge gap or anything like that. It's not at all. But I think Dawson's played himself into a position where he can actually be a second five and very good at being a second five. And as the years go on, he's going to, I think that, you know, once he hits the gym and all that kind of stuff, he can be that kind of guy. And if I was going to have a New Zealand secondary schools, that's what I would have, because I can't, if I was going to be a selector, and I'd be like, I can't look at my bench and go, why is that guy sitting on, like, how do we get him into the game? Because that's going to be the discussion. It's like, how do we get this fella into the game? Like, surely if you're gonna have a New Zealand secondary schools, if you're gonna have so many talented players like that, surely you can come up with a plan as a coach or as a coaching staff and go, we can figure out how we can have 4-3 of them and make it work. We can. That's why they selected us to this position of being coaches and coaching staffs to make up a game plan. We can do it. And those three fellas, if you have them all on the same team, you have to have them on the field. I think it's just such a waste having them on the bench. You know, it just doesn't make sense to me if that was going to be the case. So for me, it's going to be AJ first, AJ Faleafaga from St. Peter's first, Taha Kemera from Hamilton Boys second. It's going to be Dawson Smith from St. Peter's School, Cambridge third. Now my fourth one was where I didn't really know how to place them, and there was like 7 names of guys for those last 2 spots that I was just kind of changing, dipping around. Really had to get real specific about what I wanted, even though I didn't want to do that. You know, I like to look at the names and go, okay, yeah, I have those guys there, and then maybe decide one. This kind of wasn't that. Most of them I come down to like last 4 or 5, and then I have 5 names that I can choose from for the last 2 spots. This I had 7 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 names for 2 spots. 8 names for 2 spots. That's how good the first 5 were. So when it came to my fourth player in this top 5, I went with Finn Hurley from Otago Boys. Just from the stuff that he did last year to this year. Or he could also play fullback, which is like a really good plus as well. But I felt like the way that he played and the way that he managed and the way that he attacked the line, to me, was something that was... It was something that stood out in every game that he played that I saw. So, for me, it was just like, I thought that was a lot more important and a lot more of a benefit to your team and added a lot more value on your team to the other guys, and that's why I kind of had him there. To me, that the fact that he was there actually gave them a lot of shots to be a lot more successful into scoring points because of his attacking ability. It's got nothing to do with his defense. To me, it was all about his attacking ability and also being that threat that he can just take it from where he was at first receiver and then make it down the field, and then just find those extra guys just to give the one pass or two passes just to get a try. And I felt like he was always kind of that threat. So for me, Finn Hurley was the fourth one. It was real close because in the fifth one I had, after Finn Hurley from Otago Boys, was Hoida Stevenson from Hastings Boys, who really, to me, just changed my mind about who he was in the last 3-4 games that he had this season. Even though I've seen him in pretty much all of the other games, it was those last 4 games that I just thought, I was like, man, no, he is actually a bit different. He is actually a lot more better than I thought he was before. And it wasn't of the physical ability, it wasn't the skill set. To me, it was the way he thought about the game, and then the decisions that he made, I thought set him apart from a lot of guys. Because you can teach a lot of other stuff, but when it comes to decision making, to me, the decision makers are the ones that really control how a game goes and then how you end up. Now, all the bad decision makers are the ones that we sort of get onto, because it's easy to find a guy that, you know, rucks someone in the back, or, you know, purposely hits a ball down for, you know, so they don't get, you know, those bad decision makers there. But with him, I felt like we don't talk enough about the good decision makers the good decision makers that are playing right now, and he's one of those that I think if you look back at all his games and you start watching his reasons of why he did something, he was always in the right. To me, I felt like he was always in the right. And so there was like that big up in him, and I just couldn't leave him off. And I thought that to me is kind of what value I would want in my team if I was going to be a selector in the New Zealand secondary schools. I would want something like that in my team. And so he was the last guy in my top 5. So Hoida Stevenson from Hastings Boys was my last guy. Then now it comes the guys that I had to leave off, that I couldn't fit in. And these are not in order, but these are the guys that I had. James White from Christchurch Boys. Really unfortunate that he had injuries and he kind of came back. Really good kicker, really good kicking game, which I really liked. And then even when he played fullback, like I felt like, I was like, oh, he actually really did well there. Curtis Heafy was another one from Palmy Boys, who was just one of those ones in the big decision of like, well, look how much stuff he's done this year. Look how good he's done this year. And, you know, I just couldn't fit him in. It was just that way. Cullen Gray was the other one from Auckland Grammar. Such an up and down season. You know, a lot of people playing out of positions. You know, a lot of, I guess a lot of stuff that the boys had no control over. And it really, I think, really hurt the game. I really think it really hurt the team, and even guys in the different positions that they were playing. But Cullen Gray really, when he could shine, he shined. And so I kind of like that about him, and then sort of shoved aside all the BS that happened as well. So Cullen was another one. Mason Allison was another one from St. Bede's, who I really, really liked, and who I've liked a lot since he was year 11 too, and just the way he plays this game. Tane Cordell Hole from Timaru Boys, who had a massive season this year, and I thought he did great in leading around Timaru Boys. Josiah Unga was another one from Sacred Heart College, who I really liked, and I've watched him for a few years and kind of admired the way that he, just his flair and his ability to play the game. Nick Shearer from Christ College, even after his injuries and he came back, I thought that he actually played really good, and that's the reason why Christ was supposed to be in that finals against Nelson College. Kaya Nikora Belich was the other one from Southland Boys. He was another one that I felt was kind of like Finn Hurley, kind of like Josiah Unga as well. Just real nippy and fast, and, you know, quick on his feet and all that kind of stuff. Probably another guy that could probably play fullback too. And so he was another guy that was on that list. Cooper Grant from Nelson College was another one. I liked him a lot. Cam Burgess was the other guy that I liked from St. Pat's Town, and then Kobe Shute, who was the other one from Kelston Boys. Those were all the guys that I kind of put into just put into this big, massive group of guys that I really liked. And you know, after doing that, like I kind of figured out why the season was going so well and all the teams were playing so well is because of all the leadership and all the skills that were there at first five, and just the way that teams were sort of like guided around the field, and just, you know, the constant leadership from these guys when it came to attack, when it came to defense, when it came to gameplay, when it came to kicking games, when it came to direction, when it came to communication. All these things were done well, and I just noticed that a lot was shouted out from the guy wearing number 10. It's gonna be an interesting one next year, because obviously, like, when you think about it, is that, like, you know, if there's so many first fives here that are starting, think about all the first fives that are coming through next year and how many of them are going to be new, because all these guys are leaving school. So that's what the conversation is going to kind of be about now, because now you're going to look at those kind of at those teams that they're leaving behind and going, okay, well, you know, who then fills in for that? I mean, for me, like, if you look at Hamilton boys, you've got Peyton Spencer as well. Even though he's been playing fullback this whole time, he's a true number 10, and I think he'll just, you know, slide back in there. You know, once Taha moves on after the season, I think he'll be the first one to jump in there. There were who were the other guys that I liked? Carlos Hihi was another one that I really liked, that I thought was is getting there as a player from Gisborne boys. Mosese Polilei is another one from Fielding High School who I really like too. And him coming back. Cullen Tito is another one. Him and Curtis Hunter. Cullen Tito is from New Plymouth boys, and then Curtis Hunter is from Wesley College. I like Cullen. I like Cullen's Tito's size. I like that he is a big first five. I like that he's tall. I like that he's, like, demanding of the ball and got a big kick on him, things like that. And Curtis, on the other hand, where he is fast and nippy and plays at a lot of speed and impact, but also sort of takes the boys with him. He doesn't go by himself. He's, like, pretty informative in the way and what he's running, and I think the boys know about how he plays, and so they sort of just know just to follow him and just look out for that pass. But he's another one I really like. Stanley Solomon is probably the other one that I like too, from Wellington College, who I think is gonna. I think next year Stanley's gonna have a massive year, knowing what it was like after this year. First getting his, like, first real taste of, you know, first 15 rugby. I think he's going to be solid next year. He's another one that I like. I think Charles Tuputoa is the other one from Marlborough Boys College. He's probably the other one that I like too. And who's another one? There's another one that I'm missing as well. I can't even think of him now, but those are all the kind of guys that are coming through next year. But then we also got to think of those guys that are just waiting for their time as the other one. Those boys that were stuck on the bench because they had a superstar in front of them, which was a lot of guys, and now they're going to get the opportunity. So it's going to be really cool to see who are these guys that step up. And just a note to you guys who are the guys that I'm talking about that are sort of waiting their turn. Get out there this off-season. Really get out there. Start kicking the ball around. Start working on your passing game. Start working on your footwork, passing, drawing pass, things like that. Watching games. All you Islander fellas out there, if you don't have Sky, and all you other guys out there that don't have internet, if you're out in the country and all that kind of stuff, try and find an uncle. Try and find the older cousin who's got the TV, the older cousin who's got the internet, and go and watch these YouTube videos and watch for how guys play the game. Don't watch the ball so much. Just watch about where the ball is going, where the guy's running, why he passed it there, and use a lot of replay. Slow it down. Think about it a lot. Get used to that kind of stuff and get used to that thinking as well. Because if it's going to be your turn, make sure you make the most of it, especially if you know that you're year 12 going into year 13 as well. So have a look out for that. We're going to have second fives coming up tomorrow. So have a look at that. And also any other questions that you want to ask, you know, conversations, whatever, just message me and we can have a conversation. I've liked actually the conversation we had about the halfbacks, guys that were messaging me as well. It was cool having one about the halfbacks as well. Even once I had one about the locks, talking about the height, lack of height. And because basketball's so big now, a lot of our big tall boys are starting to look at going into basketball rather than to rugby, which is fine. Like that's cool. And so we're, with the small amount of numbers that we have in New Zealand, you know, we're really kind of scraping for some big tall locks, but at the same time, the ones that have stayed, I guess, in rugby have been the ones that we've really appreciated so much because they turned out to be the right ones, I guess. And so, you know, just discussions like that, I really like having that, hearing what you guys' opinions are too, and just having a good back and forth of swapping of ideas and opinions so that I can learn as well and see different perspectives. I just want to see how people are thinking, just in case I'm thinking wrong, and then I can set myself right and go, oh, okay, I understand that side of it, and I think I've been thinking about this all wrong, so we can just, you know, I'll change it up as well if I see your guys' side of it, because that's what I want. I just want to be able to learn a lot more and sort of extend my knowledge on what rugby is, especially at high school level where it's a bit different. But that's the first fives done and dusted. So peace out, Herschel Fraun.